Come on, man, smile. It's time for Clubbing the Goods.
Live from San Luis Obispo and Temecula, California, Alex Klepper, Bobby Goodsby, they're back. It's time for Clubbing the Goods.
Oh, Bobby. Alex Klepper, Bobby Goodsby, Clubbing the Goods, back after a, 2-week hiatus, Bobby? You missed 2 weeks or 1 week?
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
2 weeks again.
Yeah. I can't even keep track of time anymore. Time is just a construct, and my mind is no longer able to totally grapple with it. It is currently 9 o'clock here on this nice Thursday, kind of a melancholy Thursday, at least in terms of the weather here in San Luis Obispo. Bobby, you had your first day poolside, just, bathing out in the sun, soaking up the rays, and I'm sure dishing out some nice mixed cocktails. How are things down in Temecula?
Yeah, no, it was mainly cloudy, but man, we just opened our pool up this last week, and this was my first day out at the new poolside, and it's a very nice pool area. They did a great job with it, but that sun beats down on that bar so hard that even through the clouds, I am just drained today. So we're going to get through this show one way or another before I pass out.
Right, exactly. That's what we're going to try to do at least. Bobby may pass out. So if he does, I'll try to carry the rest of it. But, hey, I might pass out too. So it might be a little harder because then Bobby would have to try to be running the controls when he doesn't have the equipment. But, hey, I believe in Bobby. He can do these things because he is the man. Bobby, we saw a very intense Game 5 tonight in the Western Conference Finals. Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors in Houston. Houston edging out the Warriors 98-94. They now have a 3-2 series lead over the Warriors. Last time we were on the show, I believe I predicted a 5-game beatdown by the Warriors, so I'm going to have to eat a little crow on that. What was your prediction for this series initially, Bobby?
My heart predicted Houston going up against the Celtics, but my brain told me it would be the Warriors versus the Celtics. So I went with my brain on that one, and I think I said in 6.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah. Well, we're going to have at least 6 games, so you predicted that part right. We have Game 6 coming to us Saturday night from Oracle Arena, but let's talk about this game that we just saw here, Bobby. Not the most beautifully played game. That is now 2 games in a row between these two teams, the 2 highest scoring teams in the NBA. Where both of them fail to reach 100 points. Golden State Warriors, they shot 44% from the field, so not terrible, but they did turn the ball over 16 times. And Houston, they shot only 37% from the field. They shot 43 three-pointers and made 13 of them. James Harden, 0 for 11 from 3, 5 for 21 from the field. When you look at those numbers from, I would say 99% MVP of this season, we haven't gotten that announced yet. That's going to come, I believe, in a month at the NBA Awards. The guy who's going to win the MVP this season in the NBA, James Harden, 5 for 21, 0 for 11 from 3, and the Golden State Warriors do not pull out the win. Does that do anything to the psyche of the Golden State Warriors, saying we were able to really shut down or at least get a terrible game from the opposing star, or at least the main star of the opposing team, and we're not able to win it? Does that do anything to their psyche going into Game 6?
Honestly, that's got to demoralize them a little bit, knowing that, everyone going into the series was probably thinking James Harden had to take the reins, had to be the one ups, and really give an MVP-like performance in the playoffs to be able to stop this dynamic Warriors team. And to see that they're doing it at all phases, it's been a competitive series. At halftime we were tied 45-45, but the fact that as a whole, the team was able to pull it together and not just rely on James Harden, I think that's got to demoralize the Warriors a little bit, and at least get in their psyche that playing as a whole as a team, this team has to come together and get it done in Game 6 or else it's over.
Right, and kind of an interesting part about the James Harden we've seen in this series, so obviously 5 games so far, Golden State has won 2 of them, Houston has won 3. The 2 games in which James Harden shot the best were the 2 games that Golden State won. And in the first game of the series, he had 41 points, shot 14 of 24 from the field, 5 of 9 from deep, and the Warriors won by 13. In game number 3, he only shot 16 times, and he made 7 of those for 44%, 2 for 6 from 3, had 20 points, and they lost by 41. And in the 3 games they've won, he shot 9 for 24, which is 38% from the field, 11 for 26, which is 42% from the field, and then tonight, 5 for 21 again, which is 24% from the field. And again, Houston, they're really having to rely on guys that, obviously guys like Chris Paul has been a very, very huge player in the NBA for a long time now. Just missed out on the All-NBA third team that was announced today, but multiple-time All-Star. He was an All-Star this year. He had a pretty good game. He had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, only shot 6 for 19, a little bit better than James Harden. And then the other big scorer, actually the main scorer from the Rockets, is Eric Gordon, their super sub, who had 24 points off the bench, 6 for 15 shooting, and was really able to ice this game at the very end when he nailed 2 free throws and hit a big three-pointer before that as well. So with Mike D'Antoni really has only been going to a 7-man rotation for the Rockets, which is, on one hand, it's kind of Mike D'Antoni's MO when he doesn't have a team that is super deep, like maybe his Phoenix Suns teams from 10, 12 years ago. When you only have, 7 serviceable players, he's only going to play 7 guys. And there are guys on this team who can do certain things, like Ryan Anderson, who can shoot threes. Luke and Bob Mute can play defense. Joe Johnson, he's, obviously getting up there in age. I think he's 36 years old, but he's obviously had some very good performances in his career. And yet, Mike D'Antoni going with a 7-man lineup, and they are able to beat a Golden State team who, Golden State, granted, did not have Andre Iguodala tonight. They have not had in the past 2 games, both games that the Warriors lost. But the Warriors, you kind of think of as a team that is deeper, at least I do, because they have 4 stars compared to Houston's 2. And I put on Twitter, I believe last week, I said the Warriors have 3.25 superstars. So I counted Draymond Green as 3/4 of a superstar, Klay Thompson as half a superstar, and then both KD and Steph as full superstars. And then Houston had a superstar and a half, because James Harden is a superstar, and at this point in his career, I think Chris Paul is half of one. So I think, and obviously with key bench players like David West, Sean Livingston, Nick Young, Quinn Cook, who has really came into his own this year, you'd think that if the one superstar for Houston does not play well, that Golden State would have the advantage, considering that they are more of a team-oriented team. They're able to go 10 deep on some nights. It was just kind of strange to me to watch this game and see the way that James Harden absolutely bricked it on offense, and Golden State was just not able to take advantage. And now they're staring at winning 2 games in a row, where they are going home for the first time in 4 years before the NBA Finals.
Well, and I think it's a case of the whole is better than the sum of its parts. So with this team in Houston, yes, they might not have, and I love your breakdown of the stars. I think that's very accurate. I would say with Houston, though, they have more capable bench players than the Warriors have had. And I'm not saying that the Warrior bench players aren't productive. I think that the Houston Rockets, their game plan is more coerced towards what they're trying to do with their players than I'd say the Warriors bench players are more just trying to show up and give advantages to their star players. And I think that for Houston, the fact that they can use the whole and use that to their advantage and play as a team, I think that's more living up to what the NBA is right now in what they're getting out of their star power. So to make this all make sense, the fact that they're able to use the whole of their team, I think that's going to be more beneficial and has been more beneficial in this series, opposed to the Warriors, who are just kind of relying on their stars to get them through and not really making it about the bench players, which I think is what's causing the Warriors to fall behind in the series.
Right, and that makes sense. It's just strange because when I had written my notes down, I guess before tonight's game, I had written down that the Rockets and Warriors, despite both being the top 2 offenses in the NBA, had very different styles of offense, in that really Houston is predicated upon Chris Paul and James Harden creating almost everything, and either by scoring or by dishing an assist, whereas Golden State, obviously they have 2, or 3 or 4 offensive stars in their starting lineup and all-stars, But really, because they have so much depth with those 4 guys, and then you can plug in just one guy like Andre Iguodala, or plug in a guy like Sean Livingston, or plug in a guy like Nick Young. I mean, Nick Young is not going to be a very good player on many teams, but with the Warriors, he could be a very useful player. Because if you have Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant out there with them, those guys are going to be sucking up all of the defense, and Nick Young is going to get way more wide open threes than he's ever gotten in his career. And so it's, the Warriors, even though they have obviously very high star power, it's almost because they have so much star power, they have more of a team game, whereas Houston relies on these 2 guys, and it's really kind of flip-flopped the last couple of days with these 2 wins by Houston. In Game 4, it was James Harden and Chris Paul who really did a lot of the heavy lifting with 57 points combined. But tonight, we talked about Eric Gordon, and he's probably going to be a back-to-back 6th man of the year. But still, he is not a guy that you put up in the same echelon, the same breath as any of the 6 stars between these 2 teams. So interesting to see that the bench is coming up big for Houston, and that they have now won 2 games by a total of 7 points, in which Andre Iguodala, who is, given that Andre Iguodala has been such a huge part of this team, I have a hard time saying that he's underrated, but you have to kind of still say, like, this guy means so much to this team. He's able to, play amazing defense on guys like James Harden and not leave that up to Klay Thompson or to Draymond Green or even Kevin Durant. And he can take, 4 shots in a game, have 6 points and still have an amazing impact. And now, instead of starting Andre Iguodala, you're starting Kevin Looney, who, has his pluses, but he's definitely not anywhere near the player that Andre Iguodala is. And then you have to play more minutes to guys who you might not play at all down the bench. So we'll see if Andre Iguodala is able to come in for Game 6, and it is going to be an Oracle. So I do predict a Game 6 Warriors win, and then, Game 7 in Houston on Monday night. I can't wait if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, if that comes, and that's the Game 7 that we anticipate is going to happen, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to really come down to who wants it more. But like you were saying, completely agree. The Iguodala factor is a huge factor. The fact that he's been hurt, he's out of the lineup, that defensive presence, even though he might not be that flashy name anymore, he might not be that big points getter. He was the MVP, 2 or 3 years ago when they won the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
So the fact that he is that defense, not be a powerhouse, but he makes the defensive plays that they need. That's what they're really missing. They can take all the shots they want. If they don't get it done on the other end of the floor, it's going to fall apart against this Houston Rockets team that's well balanced. So I completely agree with you. And one more thing, the fact that Klay Thompson's not 100%. We saw it tonight. He made some shots, but and like one that I saw him make that I was kind of flabbergasted that he got was against Capella, where he got the off-balance shooter and one, but then he gets to the line, and it's so unlike Klay Thompson to miss that free throw, and he does. We just know he's not 100%, so I think that's affecting him. The Iguodala's effect is affecting them. I think that they need to get that straight and hopefully get them both healthy, and if they get past the Game 6, which I predict them to do, Game 7 could be a whole different outcome.
Yeah, no, I am very excited for Saturday, not only because of Game 6 in this series, but the UEFA Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid is going to be at 11:45. So a big day for people who are fans of both soccer and basketball, like I am. Bobby, what time are you working on Saturday? I know you work Saturday.
I don't ever not work. I will be working actually 3 to whenever I get out. But I will say this about soccer.
Okay.
And this might be a hot take.
Okay, I'm ready.
No one in America cares about soccer anymore.
Oh, come on. Just because we're out of the World Cup, because we're not going to be
in the World Cup? Yes, it's a huge factor. I don't know if we've talked about this since, because I don't know if we've had our show since the whole debacle with the U.S. team. Mm-hmm. But, and I'm not saying this, like, I know people love soccer, and I know people still care about soccer.
Thousands are tuning out as we speak because there's just super soccer fans. Oh, no.
I'm talking about the casual fan here.
Right.
And the casual fan factor, as it towards the World Cup, and I know we're going on a whole different story here.
No, that's fine.
I think that's a huge factor that's going to be missing in this World Cup. Because for one, the U.S., who did they lose to? Costa Rica? Was that